close to launching demographic reporting so that publishers can see exactly who is consuming their content, whether it be males or females or head of household or auto intenders. And that's great data for publishers.
And how do you know who it is?
We buy data from third-party data vendors, and we look for those people when they're watching a video. So whenever we see them, we make a match and we say, okay, that's a female, that's a male. And then publishers, in turn, can give that data to advertisers to show them that they are, in fact, reaching the audience that they want to reach. It's great data to get more/higher CPMs from advertisers. So that's coming. You talked about real-time analytics earlier. We're close to an architecture change that will significantly increase the speed of our response times. It won't be real-time. No one that I know of is real-time. Real-time would be someone watches a video, it updates instantaneously. This might be 15, 30, 45 minutes. So that's something we're excited about.
Pretty quick.
Yeah, it's pretty fast. We're adding...
What did you do on the back end? I mean, what's your back end built in, and what changes are you making?
Our back end right now is built on, it's a distributed architecture. It's run through Hadoop, which is a system where you kind of take bits of data and chunk them into more bits of data to make it easier to store and retrieve data. With that type of structure, it makes real-time really difficult. Because we use persistent databases where you got to store data and pull it out. The application that people talk about with real-time analytics is just getting their analytics faster, but the exciting things are actually using the data in real time to make decisions. For example, a video is going viral, instead of having an editorial team that has to manually spot it, you'd automatically see that it's going viral and you put it on the homepage. Or matching, doing a better job of matching advertisers with content, things like that. And that's where analytics is going, more decision-oriented, less just reporting after the fact.
So you can create business rules that say, if it starts to trend, put on homepage.
Yeah, exactly. And if you use our API, for example, you can build any rules you want. So you get the data instantaneously, you can build that into your own decisioning.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's next year. What else is happening?
Was that kind of a grueling process for your developers, or?
That wasn't bad. The real time, yeah, that'll be grueling, especially we're at a pretty significant scale in terms of the amount of streams that we track, because we do this for Brightcove and Blip and Dailymotion and MetaCafe and tons of individual publishers, and we've got new online video platforms and video sites about to sign up. So the scale it makes everything harder. But look for the real time kind of end of next year.
In addition to real time, what are you hearing from your publisher customers, and what are you hearing from your advertiser customers, and where do their interests diverge and where do they overlap?
For smart publishers, there's a lot more convergence than, because the analytics they care about are the things that advertisers care about. And most publishers, they're sold out right now. They literally have no in-stream video inventory. So the best they can do is get a higher CPM from existing advertisers, because there's no more to sell. There's actually two things that are coming up a lot. So the things they care about are audience related and performance related. So information they can give back to advertisers to justify a higher CPM. So things like, here's exactly who's watching, the preponderance of our audience is this. And then also things like, on average, when people watch a video with us, they watch longer. So performance-related metrics. Or after people start a video with us, they have a higher tendency to share it in Facebook or share it in Twitter.
So if they can show that data to advertisers, they can say, and this is why we justify a higher CPM.
Here's why you're getting more bang for buck.
Yeah.
Here's why you're going to sell more toothpaste if you advertise with us, and we get that. The other thing we're about to add is more kind of social sharing metrics, or metrics that have to do with things after you click play. What are people actually doing? So that's coming very soon.
Would
as
like
well.
engagement be kind of within that realm?
We do. I think what you mean by engagement is how long people are watching. Is that right?
Well, actually, I was going to say I think people different. Engagement seems like a kind of new medium, like it didn't really exist before the web, and so it's a metric that people are starting to talk about more, and I think for different people it means something different.
Yeah, it does. I mean, engagement is kind of a compilation of metrics. It's a fuzzy term, but right now, we'll show you your second by second viewership drop-off, so where exactly are people leaving, fast forwarding, rewinding. When you can see that combined with who's sharing the video, who's tweeting the video, that's powerful. But now imagine you can see that by audience segment. So you can see, okay, people in the Midwest that are women, this content's resonating more with them. That's really powerful, because then you can target more of those audiences or sell more of those audiences. And that's the type of thing that we'll introduce kind of after introducing this demographic metrics, is metrics by audience segment. Because another thing that's happening is advertisers increasingly, they're kind of looking at media and audience separately. And there's some advertisers out there that will go as far as they'll buy the audience that they want wherever they are. A lot of brand advertisers, they don't buy that yet. Context is still really important. But for a publisher, one of the things publishers can do is, one, use a service like ours to show who their audience is, but then they can start to offer that audience wherever they are as well. So I'll give you an example. You're the New York Times, you're sold out, you have no more inventory to sell. You can now say, okay, Mr. Advertiser, how would you like to reach New York Times readers wherever they are? We're not going to sell you that at as high of a CPM as on NewYorkTimes.com or whatever their sites are, but we will include that, and that still has value. And that's another thing that I think is going to happen in the next year.
Who does the New York Times
Where
develop
do they
a
go
business
to?
relationship with to deliver? Like, give me an example of another site that I may see one of those ads on because of the New York Times relationship.
Increasingly, media is becoming really fungible, because publishers are making their inventory available, at least the chunk that they don't sell via their direct sales force, through ad exchanges like Google, DoubleClick's AdX, or Yahoo's Right Media, through supply-side optimizers, Rubicon, PubMatic, LiveRail, AdMeld, through ad servers. And think of these entities as kind of like an eBay for media. It's a giant auction. And when you go to a page now, often before the ad even loads on the page, the ad exchange is sending out all this information to would-be advertisers. And here's the site, here's the person, and in the time it takes for the ad to load, the advertisers have to decide, do they want to bid on that ad? If so, how much? If so, what ad do they want to put in there?
All within a split second.
Yeah, and what makes it really valuable for both publishers and advertisers is that one of the key determinants of whether or not you would want to buy that impression is whether or not you recognize the users, and you do that through identifying cookies. So the New York Times, yes, they could have a relationship with kind of a network of sites that they put together, or they could simply buy their audiences in real time wherever they are, using these kind of real-time bidding mechanisms.
Okay. So the New York Times would have a relationship with ad exchanges, ad servers, not with Bob's, website about fishing bait.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the New York Times is a bad example, because they're such a premium brand that their advertisers may not want to buy New York Times readers on a gambling site or whatever. But that's how most publishers would do it.
But that actually gets to another topic, which is ad verification. So do you see, in the same way that it's becoming big in the display world, do you see it also becoming big in the video advertising world?
I have mixed emotions about ad verification. Okay. On the one hand, it's incredibly useful for an advertiser to really know where their ads are running. On the other hand, ad verification companies are just yet another middleman between advertisers and publishers that siphon the dollars that should end up with publishers. And advertisers should really only work with ad networks and partners where they know where their ads ran. So, I think if they do that, we root out the bad hats out there, and you don't need ad verification companies. And publishers make more money, and publishers need to make more money right now.
In the display world, retargeting is getting a lot of buzz.
Yeah.
Do you see that kind of also, that it will emerge in the video advertising world?
Yes.
And can you just define for people what retargeting is?
Yeah, retargeting is where someone goes to a shopping site, they're going to buy a pair of shoes, but they leave the shopping cart, but before they left, the e-tailer, they pixeled them, they placed a cookie on their computer. Now they look for them wherever they are on the internet, and they may have a creative that says, hey, if you come back, we'll offer you 20% on that pair of shoes. And it's a way of just finding your audience kind of in many places. And it's useful for both direct response marketers and for brand advertisers. And absolutely, it's going to be huge in video. And I mean, retargeting is basically what we were talking about with the New York Times example. So, because it extends a publisher's inventory effectively, it's useful for publishers, and for advertisers, it helps them find more of the people that they're targeting. They're not limited to a set of publishers.
Can you talk about some trends you're seeing with video advertising related to video content? So whether it's trends in pre-roll and overlays, new innovative ad formats, and trends you're seeing with video as rich media display, maybe on the side of the New York Times site.
Yeah. One of the things that's confuses people often about Tubemogul is if you use our ad platform, you can buy video in all its forms. So you can buy pre-roll, and most people think of pre-roll as that's the video advertising market, but in fact, you can put video in a beautiful HTML5 ad unit that pops up on Apple mobile devices. You can put videos in games. In Facebook, you can put videos in banner units.
And just to be clear, the banner unit could be next to an article that's all text.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It could literally be. It's a banner where normally you might see like a Subway banner ad. We'll put video in there, and the notion is video is so powerful for telling a story and showcasing something that you shouldn't limit yourself to pre-roll, or at least you should try these different formats and see what's most effective. What can be confusing then is when we're talking about video, it's what are you talking about? So we have to do a better job of making sure people understand when we talk analytics, are we talking about publisher analytics or advertiser analytics? And if we're talking about advertiser analytics, what specific ad unit are we talking about? But to answer your question, we did a couple studies recently that I think are worth sharing. One was with Dynamic Logic, and we looked at what's more effective, a repackaged TV spot, which is what most advertisers, they initially go to that when they move to online video. They have it already. Yeah. It's either a 15 or 30-second spot, or content or ads that they make specifically for the web. Tends to be longer in nature. And what we learned is that both are effective based upon what you're trying to achieve. 15 and 30-second spots used online in any format, in a pre-roll, in a banner, they work better as far as increasing brand awareness. And that's probably because of the synergistic aspect with seeing it on TV, seeing it online.
Did you compare brands that advertise both on TV and online as one study group and brands that only do those 15 seconds online? Did you notice any, because you mentioned like when people see it on TV and then online there's the brand recall.
Yeah, it was all brands that advertise on TV.
And online.
And online.
Okay.
And we just looked at brands that just ran 15 and 30s versus brands that ran longer form made for the web content. And the made for the web content, those type of ads, we found that they're better for increasing purchase intent. So you have two different
length?
What's the typical length? 60 to 90 seconds.
Okay. You're implying there that a 60 to 90 second ad is going to be on the side of a site, not pre-roll.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, that's right. So that's interesting. We did another study recently where we looked at how much of a site's audience do you actually reach if you buy pre-roll ads on that site. And the idea was, of the people that go to a site, only a subset of those actually watch the videos. And I forget the exact number. I think you miss about 85% of the site's audience by just buying pre-roll ads, which was kind of enlightening to me.
And does that imply that 15% of the typical site's audience actually watches the video?
Yeah, that is what that implies. And so the other implication is if you want to use video to reach more of a site's audience, you need to use other types of video ads, interstitials, pre-rolls, video in a banner, etc.